Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk Physical Media. My name is John, and this is the weekly show where we talk all things in the world of physical media and anything in the world of film. Now guys, I am recording the show a little earlier in the week than I would like to. I'm recording this on Tuesday because I'm actually not going to be home at the end of the week, so kind of had to film it earlier than I would have liked to. But we still have plenty of news to talk about, and right out of the gate, it looks like we're going to be getting 3 more Friday the 13th movies on 4K Blu-ray from Arrow Video. We just got Friday the 13th, 2009 on 4K Blu-ray, but somebody got Trick or Treat on 4K Blu-ray early, and in there was a card for Jason X on 4K Blu-ray. And other people like the president of physical media out there on the artist formerly known as Twitter and on Instagram reported that we're also going to be getting Jason Goes to Hell and Freddy vs. Jason on 4K Blu-ray as well. So the non-Paramount releases, it looks like we're going to have all of them on 4K Blu-ray. Whereas the Paramount ones, we got a previous 8-film collection that had them on Blu-ray. And then a few years ago, we got the entire collection on Blu-ray from Shout Factory and Scream Factory. So these are coming from Arrow Video. So I'm guessing somehow they ended up with the rights to the Warner Brother releases. I believe that's who did the other 4. And that's how we ended up with A Nightmare on Elm Street. And that's how we ended up with Freddy vs. Jason, because New Line Cinema in the early 1990s, they ended up with both a Nightmare on Elm Street franchise and the Friday the 13th franchise. They teased that Freddy vs. Jason at the very end of Jason Goes to Hell, and I personally really like Jason Goes to Hell, so I'm very excited to see that one coming to 4K Blu-ray. I know not everybody likes it. Is it a stupid movie? Absolutely, but you can also argue Jason X is a really stupid movie, and so is Freddy vs. Jason. But I actually like those Friday the 13th movies when they kind of lean into the stupidity. It's just when it gets really, really, really boring, like, and unfortunately my least favorite, Jason Takes Manhattan, or as I like to call it, Jason Takes a Trip to Manhattan, because he's only there for, a few minutes of the entire movie. Really, it's about him on that cruise ship. It's not even a cruise ship, it's just a boat, and somehow they get out of camp. Forget it. I can go on and on about how much I don't like Jason Goes to Manhattan. We're not here to talk about Jason Goes to Manhattan. We're here to talk about the other ones. Jason X, Jason Goes to Hell, and Freddy vs. Jason coming to 4K Blu-ray, and I couldn't be more excited because these are some of my favorite Friday the 13th movies, so I'm definitely looking forward to that. And it sounds like the Jason Goes to Hell edition is actually going to be the uncut version, so the better version, so I can't wait for that. So that's something I'm really excited about to be coming to 4K Blu-ray. Now, a movie that is also supposedly coming to 4K Blu-ray is 1997's Dante's Peak, and this is from the same director who directed No Way Out, which came out in the 1980s, which I absolutely love, and as this one stars 2 of my favorite actors. Now, one of them is just because she's connected to a franchise I absolutely love in Linda Hamilton. And then Pierce Brosnan, I love Pierce Brosnan. He's my first James Bond. He's still probably my favorite James Bond, even though he's not the best James Bond just because all of his movies aren't the greatest. But I still love GoldenEye. I still think Pierce Brosnan is like the perfect James Bond. He was just perfect for the role. I just wish that his movies were a little bit better, unfortunately. But hey, he's still a great actor. Dante's Peak is a movie I've only seen once. It kind of came out around that time where we were getting that resurgence in disaster films in the late 1990s. I think this is a year or 2 before Deep Impact. We also got Armageddon around this time. So Hollywood was just making a bunch, Volcano. So Hollywood was just making a bunch of these movies at the same time. And I know a lot of people are excited for Dante's Peak to be coming to 4K Blu-ray. I'll probably grab it just because I haven't seen it in years, but I wouldn't say this is the movie I'm most excited to be coming to 4K Blu-ray. Now, there was one thing that got leaked, I think it's on Orbit DVD's website, is the 1984 film Amadeus, directed by Milos Forman, the guy who also gave us One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest in the 1970s. And then later in his career, a lot of people like this movie starring Jim Carrey, where he plays Andy Kaufman, Man on the Moon. I don't really like the movie. I like the documentary a lot more, but Milos Forman, he's a great director, and I absolutely love Amadeus. And, this would be its 40th anniversary, so it makes a lot of sense for the movie to be coming to 4K Blu-ray. This tells the story of Mozart and Salieri, played by Tom Holtz and F. Murray Abraham in this movie, and both of them, their best performances in my opinion. Tim Holtz, the only movie I can really remember him other than Amadeus is the movie Parenthood, where he just plays the loser in that movie, but still, he's really funny, and he's really funny in this movie as well, just looking at the rivalry between these two, and really, it's the jealousy of Salieri, and oh my god, I cannot wait for this movie to come to 4K Blu-ray. I don't actually have it on Blu-ray because the only version of this, which is a common thing throughout history of Blu-ray, is only the director's cut is on Blu-ray, and I actually prefer the theatrical cut of that. Maybe that's something we can talk about when the 4K Blu-ray comes out, and maybe they'll give us both versions on 4K Blu-ray. Fingers crossed on that. It does say that the artwork is still to be determined. I hope they just use the artwork that they actually have in this picture, because that is some pretty damn solid artwork, and it's a great film. And it also led to a great song called Rock Me, Amadeus.
Amadeus, 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 Amadeus.
I just think the movie is great. I really hope that this rumor is true, because this is a movie I absolutely love. I've heard this rumor for a while now, but, you know, seeing that temporary artwork put up and you can kind of pre-order it, that's like the first sign that this is actually really coming to 4K Blu-ray. So I couldn't be more thrilled about that. This is really good news for us. And this year we are celebrating 10 years of Christopher Nolan's Interstellar. I'm really glad to see that people are actually finding this movie and falling in love with it, because when this movie came out 10 years ago, people didn't really enjoy this that much, and people were saying this was Christopher Nolan's worst movie. I would argue that this is his second best film, only behind Oppenheimer. It's a masterpiece in its own right. It's this generation's 2001: A Space Odyssey, which I know might be like sacrilege to say because Stanley Kubrick directed 2001: A Space Odyssey, but I still think Interstellar is one of those sci-fi epic masterpieces featuring an all-star cast. You know, I can go on and on about how good Matthew McConaughey in this movie is, how good the Hans Zimmer score is in this film. You know, a lot of people might not like the ending. I pretty much dig the ending. It makes a lot of sense in the world that they create in this movie. I really think Christopher Nolan nailed this one. I'm glad to see it's going to be getting a re-release in theaters. I believe it's only for November 7th. Like, it's a very limited run in IMAX. Really cool to see them doing that, because this is the kind of movie you want to experience on the big screen. But if you do decide to buy it for home media, it looks like we're going to have a brand new collector's edition and a new re-release steelbook. So that's pretty cool if you're a fan of Interstellar. Now, I really love Interstellar, but I'm not one of those people that likes to like double dip on packaging, especially if they're not going to give us anything new with the 4K Blu-ray or any new extras. This looks like just, hey, we got new packaging for you. If you're a huge fan of this movie, come out and grab this on 4K Blu-ray with this brand new collector's edition packaging. But it's really hard for me to always justify that, because it costs a lot of money to go out and get these. But seeing this on the big screen, again, if you haven't seen it in years on the big screen, I never did. So this is what I would actually really like to go see on the big screen, even though I've already watched the movie this year. And it's a pretty long movie, but goddamn, it is entertaining as hell. So well made. And yeah, if you haven't seen Interstellar, I could definitely recommend you picking up one of the 4K Blu-rays, even if it's just the previously released 4K Blu-ray, the standard packaging like I got, because I don't think you'll be disappointed. The Christopher Nolan movies were the kind of movies I could not wait to jump to 4K Blu-ray with. Like, I believe it was 2017 I got my first 4K Blu-rays, and at the end of that year, they announced the Nolan movies were coming kind of before Christmas, and also, what were the other ones that I really wanted? Oh, and Blade Runner. I couldn't wait to, like, Blade Runner was a movie I was like, I can't wait to see that. That movie was made to be on 4K Blu-ray, and it's still a great 4K Blu-ray to this day, and so is Interstellar. I reviewed it somewhere on the channel earlier this year, and I was doing all of Nolan movies on 4K Blu-ray, doing all their individual reviews, so you could check that review out, because I believe it's going to be the exact same scan. I'm pretty sure, at least. So that was another little bit of news we got this week. And then another one that actually just got confirmed right before I started recording this video. This was a rumor last week. I forgot to actually talk about it on last week's show. And that's that Last Christmas, the 2019 rom-com Christmas movie starring Emilia Clarke and Henry Golding, who I believe was actually rumored for a little while there to be the next James Bond. He was also in, I want to say, The Gentleman, a pretty good actor in his own right. Obviously, a very handsome fella. And speaking of handsome, on the other side, we get a very beautiful woman in Emilia Clarke, who is probably most remembered for playing Daenerys on Game of Thrones. And that's obviously her most iconic role to this point. I haven't really seen her in anything else where she's really stood out. You know, she had that ultra confidence playing, you know, the house and the savior of House Targaryen in Game of Thrones, but seeing her in this movie, I haven't actually seen this movie. I remember people were pissed about it when it first came out. So I personally cannot speak on the quality of this film, but it's pretty cool it's getting a 4K Blu-ray release. We're kind of running out of Christmas movies to come to 4K Blu-ray. We have the original How the Grinch Stole Christmas coming out on October 29th. Pretty excited about that. It's just coming out in a loaded week, so I'll probably wait until after Thanksgiving to pick that one up. Maybe it'll even drop in price by that, because I'm not going to watch that movie on 4K Blu-ray until, you know, after we get through the early November, kind of in-between season there, you know, between Halloween and Christmas. You get that, like, few weeks before Thanksgiving rolls around here in the United States, and then we're in full-fledged Christmas mode, so, you know, you kind of get that little window. You're not really watching Christmas movies yet. I kind of have a little bit of a spooky season hangover. finishing up some of those 4K Blu-rays again that are coming out on October 29th. So then we'll get right into all those Christmas 4K Blu-rays. And there really isn't too many Christmas movies coming out this year. So we got Last Christmas and I believe just Silent Night, Deadly Night coming out from Scream Factory. And I do believe that is it. There's also a Krampus re-release steelbook coming out. So, not too many movies. Like a few years ago, we got all the Warner Brothers Christmas movies on 4K Blu-ray. That was a great Christmas season. But, this year, so far at least, looking a little bit slow on the Christmas movie 4K Blu-ray releases. But guys, like I said, it's a much, much, much shorter show this week. I appreciate the understanding. I really do apologize about it. But it's only been a few days since I did my last recording for the show, and really not too much news has come out other than the stuff we talked about here right now. So next week will be a much fuller show because I'm sure stuff has been announced since earlier in the week, and I just didn't get to talk about it yet. So next Sunday we'll have a much, much bigger episode of Let's Talk Physical Media. I hope you guys still enjoyed this episode, and if you did, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. We also have channel memberships, so if you want to become a friend of the channel or a channel producer like John Doe Juggalo and Jason Martin, or even a channel director like Frank from Frank's Media Reviews and Mr. Smelly Potato, and have your choice review each and every single month here on the channel, you guys can find all that information in the description below. But guys, if you don't have any money to throw away, don't you worry about it at all. All we hope is that you enjoyed this video, and if you did, get out in those streets, tell your friends about us, and then we'll be seeing you around.